G'day guys, it's been a while. I had a few things going on and haven't been able to do anything really in relation to travel, seeing things, doing stuff, no photography, no island trips. I actually sold my Nissan Patrol, so I haven't even really been doing anything in relation to getting out and about. I've been very focused on selling a house, buying a new place here in Brisbane, getting a new job after quitting the old job because it was an absolute terrible job. And yeah, so I haven't been doing a lot of travel, haven't been doing a lot of much at all, just getting that sorted. And so I need to replace the Patrol that I sold. So looking today at a 2004 Landcruiser full drive, 100 series, 105 series, not sure. Auto gearbox, 220 Ks on it. And hopefully looks very factory stock, like untouched, potentially hasn't done a lot of towing, no tow bar. Hasn't, so, you know, unless it's been taken off, hasn't done any towing, and potentially hasn't done a lot of off-road work, but we'll get underneath and have a look at that and see how it looks. But I'm going to head out there to the dealer now and see what they've got there, and if this car's going to be worth grabbing. So I'll take you along and we'll see how we go with it. So for a little while I've been researching what car to get next after the Patrol. The Patrol served me so well. What I loved about that car was the volume, the internal volume. I could pack for a week away and had room for, you know, a couple of passengers and spare room, and, you know, you can still see out your rear window and all those things. You know, you don't get any kind of mid-size SUVs because you pack it to the roof and then you fill the roof racks and all of that. So the Patrol was great. The power in a 3 litre, it was the 3 litre ZRD, totally fine. It was chipped, to be honest, so it was even a bit better than standard. But that car, look, those motors are known for eventually being a problem, and I had it at about 210,000 and I just kind of didn't want the stress anymore, so I thought I'd get out of it. So looking at Land Cruisers, because everyone knows the quality of the Toyota, and specifically the V8, because the 1UZ FE motor is also very well known for its reliability and doing easily, with good maintenance, 400, 500,000 kilometers. So that's kind of where I've settled. I've not driven one in a V8. I've driven a couple of the V6 petrols, and they are a beautiful drive. They're a big car, but so is the Patrol. So it's not like I'm going to lose anything in terms of performance. It's not a race car. So heading out to look at this one, it is quite possibly the cheapest one in Australia that's road registered. There's one or two that are a bit cheaper, but they're selling them without roadworthies, without registration, and I don't really want to buy someone else's problem in that sense. So looking at this one, and we'll see how it goes. They're normally cheap for a reason. There's two others at this dealership as well, which have more Ks on them, and they want more force. So that's normally an indication that there's something going on here that needs further investigation. So let's see what we find. I'll cut to the car itself and give you a look around it and then tell you more. All right, so here we have it. Look, from this far back, I was very excited about this car. Paintwork looked okay. It seemed to sit well on the suspension. A few scratches here and there, but not a brand new car. Grabbed the keys off the dealer, chucked them in the ignition, and it kicked over, no worries. No obvious smoke coming out of the tailpipe. I did notice it had been started before I got there, so someone's obviously warmed it up. I failed to remember to not warn the dealer I was coming. Look, it ran okay. It was pretty smooth, and it was obvious that there was some items that had been maintained. There's a new power steering fluid. The cooling tees behind the motor were all good, but that's about where it ended. You can see here there's rust absolutely everywhere. This car knows a beach better than a lifesaver. So we're looking at all the items here, down in front, behind the front bar, just completely starting to rust, if not getting any, pretty badly actually. And, you know, it was just, there's so many indications throughout the whole car that this car had been through salt water all the time. We got underneath the car, the chassis was just as bad. It had been painted, so they're obviously trying to cover the rust. And then we got onto the roof and saw that they'd actually sealed up the sunroof with silicone because it was leaking. So that was about all I needed to see. Rightio, so this is why you don't buy cars sight unseen off the internet. This thing is full of rust. spent its entire life on the beach. They've tried to paint the chassis to make it look clean, but it's not. Yeah, it's rough. It's really rough. So, look, good to see it. Won't be buying it though. Not at all. I figured since I was there, I'd take a look at the other two cruisers. This one was in pretty rough shape, high Ks, wanted about 25 grand for it. So I gave it a bit of a miss. To be honest, the whole chassis on this car was in better condition, but it was about, I think, 300,000 Ks on this guy. So we gave that one a miss. And then we had a look at this one, and I am really finicky about paintwork on cars, and this one just had a terrible paint job. It was also about 25 grand, 250,000 Ks on it, and it just wasn't for me. So that was about all I did at that day. All right, so initial thoughts. The car from the outside presented really well from about 5 meters away. And then the closer I got, the more I saw it had little touches of rust, surface rust around the doors and around the windscreen and whatnot. And then the more I opened, the worse it got. So opening the bonnet, you will see from the clips that I showed that there was rust on pretty much everything that could rust. The radiator, a lot of the bolts. There was clearly some maintenance that had been done. They'd replaced bits and pieces, which is obviously great. Someone's done the maintenance, but once we got underneath the car and stuck my head in the chassis and in the wheel wells and whatnot, it was really clear that someone had painted the whole chassis to hide all of the surface rust, like all of the surface rust that was there. So, and you could see bubbles of rust right through the chassis, right through the front bar, rear bar, and then bits and pieces that you know, I didn't film, but they were there as well. So that car has more than likely seen its fair share of beach work and salt water, and you know, was really starting to become problematic in terms of some of the rust bubbles and whatnot in and around the chassis, which eventually is just writing it off. And you know, I want to buy this car to effectively never sell, but if I was to sell it, I don't want it to be unroadworthy by the time I do get around to doing that in, say, 100,000 K's time. So it started to reveal why it was the cheapest one in Australia. And I really get quite concerned when you start seeing cars where they've painted the chassis. You know, what are they trying to hide? Why are they trying to hide it? Why not just maintain it? Why not do this, why do that? So I think the lesson for all of everyone looking at secondhand cars, especially ones that are particularly cheap, is don't YOLO it and just, you know, buy the cheapest car on the internet with like sight unseen, because not many people are selling cheap cars because they're in great condition, you know, that they want them for the rest of their lives. They're selling them because they're starting to become a problem and cost them too much. So we're not buying that one. However, I did kick it over. The engine did sound alright. The car itself looks comfortable. The volume looks perfect. You can see how you would configure that car to be a really good tourer. Certainly a great weekender. So I will continue to watch out, and next time I see one, we'll do another little video and we'll see if we can find the right one to pull the trigger on. So thanks for coming along. Unfortunately, that one wasn't the one for us, but you know what? I feel comfortable sort of walking past the first one and finding out why it was so cheap. So look, give me a like, give me a follow, and follow the journey. We'll get the right one, and we'll build it up, and we'll go and see some stuff together. Cheers.